Yo, what's up? How you doing today? I hope that you are doing well. Welcome to the Risen Fallen podcast. I am your host, Mark Hendrickson. If you're brand new to the show, then what you can expect is an open, authentic conversation about things like mental health, self-development, how to get your life moving in the right direction. If you're not feeling good about where you are right now, at least having the confidence knowing that you're moving one step closer, 1% better every single day, at least surrounding yourself with one better person, maybe, whatever it is, just allowing yourself the grace to move at your pace. Let go and let God, right? I think that's how the saying goes. I'm not 100% sure, but I hope that you are doing well. It is the end of June right now. We are just wrapping up another month here. And, it is about to be July. It's one of my favorite months. It's my birthday month. It's also just like kind of the middle of summer. It's my favorite time of the year. It's warm. It's sunny. It's bright out. The day is longer. I enjoy all of that. I like waking up to sun instead of darkness. I like I like the afternoon naps sometimes I get to have. It's just, it seems like my favorite time of year. You're out and about. I go for a run today. I see this lady. And this is one of my favorite things too, is like neighbors are way more interactive with each other when it's sunny out and bright out and happy out, because like I'm running today and I got my headphones on and I got my hood on and, I kind of look, I feel like with sunglasses and a hood on when I go for a run, like maybe not like the friendliest guy. I don't always have like kind of especially when I zone out, I got like that resting dick face, like it's kind of like I just don't really, I feel like I look inviting, but I've had other people say that I don't really look like that. But anyways, I'm just running, right? And I see this lady and she's out there gardening and she's got to be like 10 massive pots that she's just like planting different things in, like little trees, tomato plants, blueberry plants, stuff like that. And she yells something at me as I run by. And I go, what? Part of me, like I pull my headphone off. I go, yo, what's that? She goes, oh, good on you for jogging. Good on you for running. And I go, good on you for gardening, and it just goes to show like it's one of my favorite seasons, but B, it's kind of cool how like that interaction sometimes, like when you just when you're out there, when you're putting yourself in the community, you're getting outside, you're moving around, it just gives you a lot more opportunity to connect with people. And it's just, even if it is just something little like that, like just a little smile, a little good morning, a little go whatever, goes a long way. It definitely, in terms of making you feel connected, building community, feeling like you're moving in the right direction. I think that a lot of people thrive off of that kind of like social aspect as well. And again, like obviously running past other people running, you're just like waving, what's up, bro? And then they're just like happier. It just kind of seems like it's a lot more connected. Mind you, in the wintertime when you're outside shoveling, you see your neighbor shoveling, you give them the good old wave. And so I know that a lot of the time when I am in wintertime, I just like literally have to get through it by telling myself, in 6 months at least, it'll be nice and hot, it'll be nice and sunny, it'll be nice. And, it's going to be brighter. The day is going to be longer. The mornings are going to start earlier. I just feel a lot more alive in the summer. And I always tell myself, once it's springtime, once it's summertime, I'm going to get back in my groove. I'm going to get in my grind. I'm going to be happier. It'll be easier. It'll be this, it'll be that. And I think that that's such a common thing. Like last week we were talking about how, real love and inner peace, all of these things are built. They're not like just randomly found in life. And this week I was thinking even more about that, because I have that aspect of me where it's like, okay, once this happens, once that happens, then I'll feel like I can take a breath and rest and take a, just like feel at ease. I find that's just kind of the way that I just, maybe because I'm goal oriented, or maybe just because of the way that I think, or I don't know what it is, but I just find myself doing that all the time in life. Like, once, and again, some people, it's always like waiting for, once my husband learns this, once my wife learns this, once they treat me this way, then I'll treat them this way. Or once I have a wife, once I have a husband, then I'll feel at peace. Once I get paid more, once I have a promotion, once I start my own business, once I can do that, there's always, once I don't have an injury, once I don't have this going on in my life, the stress, this financial issue, this relationship issue, this social media addiction, like once this thing is solved in the political world, then I can feel at peace. And, understanding that like peace is not something that comes from, having a perfect life. It's not having no problems. It's not having no injuries. It's not having nothing wrong. It's being stronger than what's going on and what's happening to you. It's being able to, go through a tough conversation and be able to just sit there and listen and have that hard conversation without losing your temper, without losing yourself. Being able to come across the things that happen in your life where this thing comes up, you have to deal with that. You have to go and do this thing. Oh, I didn't plan on this. And, realistically, the people with the most amount of inner peace and the people that are kind of the most grounded in life, the people that other people want to be like, are always the people that are able to kind of hit these things more like speed bumps rather than brick walls. Where like as a lot of people, they encounter issues and they kind of frantically they forget to breathe. Everything seems like it's the end of the world. They're looking for consistent, and this is kind of more like the thing I'm really trying to talk about is that when people say, I'm waiting for a balance, I'm waiting for inner peace, I'm waiting for this, I'm waiting for that, what they're actually chasing is avoidance and relief from pain. Using scrolling or venting to people or these ways of like kind of being able to, and I mean I do it too, like with the idea of like kind of making jokes about things that you're struggling with or that stress you out, so there is kind of like a cathartic way of being able to laugh at it, but that's a very different than like kind of being stuck in this victimhood mentality of like going on and on about it. And then the inner peace is like a vacation from that thing, whether it's sitting on the couch and drinking a bottle of wine and watching Netflix or actually going out on a vacation. Most people's idea of peace, of balance, of, serenity is escaping whatever they're dealing with, escaping the stresses of whatever they have going on in life. And I think that people that have true inner peace and balance aren't searching for that. They're able to achieve that feeling of peace and balance no matter what's going on in their lives. And I'm not saying that you have to be completely stoic and have no emotions whatsoever. But what I am saying is like you should be able to just kind of have the faith that, look, the Lord provides. He's taking care of me my whole life. I've made it this far. There's, we all know there's a lot of things along the way where it's like, maybe I should have had more consequences there. Like I got a little bit of grace for myself here, and I should recognize where that comes from. Like it feels like somebody's got my back, I know that it's tough to remember that. It's tough to feel that in the moment. But the more you tell yourself that, the more you will believe it. The more you will encourage that thought pattern and that belief in yourself, that faith in yourself, and understand that it's like, look, I've gotten this far. He's got my back. So let's fall back on what we've practiced and kind of also view it as like, when is life ever going to be perfect? Do you ever just like it doesn't happen? And so if you're waiting for something on the external side of life to happen, for you to feel good, for you to feel peace, for you to feel in balance, that means by nature it's temporary. It can be taken away and it's outside of your control. It's stealing the autonomy from yourself, the ability to actually get to that thing, that inner peace. And so the goal is to not have a life where nothing ever goes wrong. The goal is to be the kind of person who's not owned by the things that go wrong, because the things that can trigger you, the things that can control the way that you behave, the way that you feel, the way that you speak, and the way that you treat other people, those things that can trigger that in you are what controls you. Those are the things that, subconsciously have more control over you than you do of yourself. And to me, when I experience that, it makes me want to take control of that. It makes me want to say, I want to be able to be this person no matter what happens. Sometimes it's tough. Like I said, you have to be able to understand that these are the things that you have to think about where this peace comes from, and think about where, maybe even where the lack of peace comes from, because I know that for me, where it comes from is a lot of the time resentment, whether it's for myself or for other people. That inner peace is I have a resentment for myself. It manifests as shame or guilt, or I have that's a lot of what it is, right? Like what upsets us in other people is what upsets us about ourselves. It's hard for us to swallow the fact that we can be a piece of shit sometimes. And so when we see someone else being a piece of shit, it offends us, because we think, how could somebody be like that? When really the hardest thing to do is understand and admit, I can kind of be like that. I and so when you start to understand that, and when you start to actually remind yourself of that, it gives you a lot more grace, not just for other people, but for yourself as well. You just understand, hey, I'm just running through this life. I don't have a fucking roadmap. Some people claim they do, but it's like we're all just trying to figure this out. We're all literally, we're human, and it's a fucking weird thing. It's a tough thing, right? And just having that kind of awareness and that kind of non-judgmental way of looking at the world could give you a little bit more peace. Again, another thing to understand is just that so that peace is not from an external source. It's not from what's going on in your life. It's doing what you say that you're going to do and being in control of yourself. But understanding that peace is not having control, right? I think that's the other thing that I know I struggle with a lot in my life, is that, I want to have control of the situation. I want to be the driver, literally and metaphorically. Like, I want to be in control. I want to have my hand on the wheel. I want to know, like, when I go on vacation, that's one of the things that kind of pisses me off, is like, I want to have my truck there. I want to know, like, the ins and outs of the vehicle. I want to be able to leave a situation if I need to, or get to a place that I want to get to, or, it's just a part of my, I guess, personality, and there's pros and cons to it. But I think a lot of us need to swallow the fact that having inner peace is not having control of everything in life. As much as we have the compulsion to want to be in the driver's seat, a lot of the times, like if you think about it in this perspective, when I go on an airplane, I get very anxious because I have that kind of lack of control. But if I was in control, it would probably be worse for me and everyone around me, right? Like, I don't know how to fly the fucking plane, land the plane, take off, or whatever. And so, like, the actual inner peace is understanding I don't need to have control in this situation. I have to have faith. I have to have, faith, obviously, in God, but also in this guy who knows what he's doing, because I fucking don't. So if I want to get through this, that's the way it's got to be. And so, again, it's something that's fucking tough sometimes, because I understand the compulsion. I have it in my life as well, to want to be in control, to want the external thing, more money, more this, more that, better life, better this, better car, better, I get it. I fucking get it. But if you're constantly saying to yourself, once I have this, I'll feel good. Once I have this, I'll have peace. Once I have this, I'll have balance. If you're constantly saying that, you will never have it. And that's a choice that we have to make in and of itself. It's the same thing as stress. It's the same thing as, losing your temper. It's the same thing as anything else. If you take yourself every single morning and you tell yourself, today I'm going to be chill. Today I'm going to have inner peace. I'm going to be balanced. I'm going to be happy. And I'm going to, do this, do that. And then you go out, you drive to work, you drive out, and you get stuck in traffic, and you're fucking yelling at people. You're swearing under your breath. You're cutting people off. They're cutting you off. You're fingering people. You're throwing change out your window at them. Not that I suggest that, but it's like, if you can tell yourself these things all the time, but the proof is in the pudding. If you look at the actions, if you look at the behaviors, if you look at the words, if you look at the, then you can kind of see you're choosing to be like this. If it's a repeated pattern, that's what behavioral patterns are. It's just like a thing that you chose enough times that you're just doing it subconsciously now. And so if you want to actually remove that from your life, you have to be conscientious of it. Tell yourself, when you go driving, I'm going to be cut off by every other person. Everyone's going to have no regard for me. They're all idiots. They're the worst drivers ever. And then when you go out driving, you're pleasantly surprised that 80% of people aren't actually that. And then when you do encounter the person that is like that, you laugh. You go, look at this guy. It's not a surprise. It doesn't catch you off guard. It doesn't change the way that you chose to behave. Unless you want to be angry and aggressive and stressed out all the time, then so be it. Take that choice. But it is something that you have to understand. Where do you get triggered in your life? Like where do you have those issues in your life? And tell yourself, prime yourself mentally before you enter those situations. Hey, every time I have a conversation with this person, it goes to this place. So tell yourself it's going to go there. And how are you going to react when it happens? Same thing with traffic. Same thing with, whatever it is. If you constantly think about the things that stress you out in life, think about how you can make that less stressful for yourself by priming yourself for it. Think about how you can actually just avoid the situation in general. If you have a type of person where it's like every time I talk to this person, this thing happens, it gets like this, it gets bad, they start yelling, they start name calling, they start doing this. Don't allow that situation to happen. Change what you can change. Control what you can control. Or understand that sometimes that's just how it's going to be. Sometimes you have a fucking dick as a boss for a while in your life. And everybody's seen the movie where the guy's got the fucking boss that's a dick. And it's like, dude, sometimes you're just in that chapter of life. Sometimes you have to deal with a shitty landlord. Sometimes you have to deal with a shitty roommate. You're not alone in that. That's just a stage that, there's obviously some dicks in the world out there. And so it's obvious that there's going to be some in every category of life. And so you're going to experience them as roommates, as landlords, as bosses, as coworkers. Sometimes it's going to be you. Sometimes it's going to be your wife. Sometimes it's going to be your husband. Sometimes it's going to be, And so how do you behave when you encounter them? Do you have grace for them? Do you have forgiveness? Do you understand? I can be like that as well. I've been like that in the past. I would want people to forgive me. I forgave myself. Clearly you haven't if you're still thinking this way. But it's like, I think the more that we can prime ourselves by, not just like talking about what triggers us, but thinking about, okay, how can I fix this fucking problem? The better our lives can be. And so, again, I kind of talked about that last week with, thinking about solutions more than thinking about your own problems, but I think it's worth repeating. And so on that note, I think that's a beautiful place to wrap this up. I will catch you guys next Monday. If you enjoyed this episode, you thought it brought you some value, you thought, hey, I think I wanted to share this message with somebody, but I didn't want to be the one to say it, just gently share this episode with them, and I'll be your boy. And so if you're listening this long, just know that your friend loves you, and they just think that you need a little bit more positivity in your life. And so if you are that person, welcome to the family. Much love. I'll catch you next Monday. Rate it 5 stars. Leave a little review, like, comment, subscribe. Wherever platform you're on, you know how to help me out. Much love. Peace out. See you next Monday. Bye. Love you all.